I'll never forget the day my neighbors tried to steal my lake. Not borrow, not share, steal. And the look on their faces when I finally turned the tables, let's just say it was worth every sleepless night leading up to it. Picture this. I'm standing on the dock, the July sun warm against my skin, the scent of pine needles in the breeze, water glistening like 1,000 tiny diamonds. It should have been a peaceful day, but instead, it was the beginning of the most outrageous HOA scam I'd ever seen, and I was their target. 6 months earlier, life looked very different. My name's Daniel Hayes. Back then, I was dragging myself through long city hours, recovering from a brutal divorce, and feeling like life had lost all purpose. Then came the call my grandmother, Eleanor, had passed, leaving me her lakefront estate in Ridgewood, Wisconsin. Grandma wasn't just a property owner. She was a legend. Families swam off her dock, neighbors borrowed her boats, and kids learned to fish at her shoreline. For decades, she treated the lake like a gift for everyone. But as a kid, she once told me, "Danny, kindness is a gift you choose. Don't ever let someone turn your generosity into an obligation." At the time, I didn't fully understand, but soon, her words would echo in my head louder than ever. Enter Marjorie Lane. She was in her 50s, always strutting around in tennis skirts, though no one had seen her hold a racket, driving a shiny Lexus with "Community First" plates. Her smile was sugar-coated poison. She called herself President of the Ridgewood Lake Association. Impressive title, right? Except it was a title she invented. One week after I moved in, she knocked on my door, thrusting a stack of papers at me. "We need to discuss your grandmother's arrangements with the neighborhood," she said, her perfume so thick it nearly choked me. I flipped through the stack, 40 pages of legal-sounding nonsense. She claimed the community had always shared lake rights, and now I owed $12,000 a year in fees. "Your grandmother was very cooperative," she smirked, stretching the word outsider like an insult. I smiled politely and said, "I'll look it over." But inside my blood boiled. My grandmother never charged anyone. This woman was rewriting history, and she'd just chosen the wrong person to mess with. But that was only the beginning. Things were about to get worse, much worse. The nightmare escalated when I threw a barbecue. Just a few friends, burgers sizzling, laughter bouncing off the water. Then suddenly, Marjorie marched down my dock with laminated notices. "This community has standards," she declared, demanding my guest list like she was running border patrol. My friends exchanged awkward looks, and the smell of smoke from the grill turned sour in my nostrils. One by one, they packed up. That night I sat alone on the porch, staring at the lake's black water. My grandmother's voice came back to me. Kindness is a choice. I knew I couldn't let Marjorie weaponize Eleanor's generosity. Days later, I found a hidden cedar chest in Grandma's study. Inside, old maps, deeds, and water rights documents. My pulse raced. One, notarized and filed, stated in clear words, "My family owned exclusive rights to the entire lake." I grinned, almost giddy. Marjorie's threats, her HOA claims, utter nonsense. But then came a letter taped to my truck windshield. A cease and desist order claiming the HOA owned the water, threatening $500 daily fines. At first glance, it looked legit, but my engineering-trained eye spotted the lies. P.O. box address, unregistered law firm, a scam. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't an overzealous neighbor. This was a con artist. And if you think fake legal letters are bad, wait until you hear what she did next. I started knocking on doors. Dorothy Miller, who'd lived next door since the 70s, shook her head over coffee strong enough to peel paint. "Your grandmother never charged us a dime," she said. Then this woman shows up collecting fees. Jim Carter, retired teacher, dropped the bombshell. Marjorie had been charging $200 a month from nearly 25 families. That's nearly $5,000 a month pocketed for nothing. Fueled by anger, I drove to the county courthouse. The smell of old paper and ink filled the air as I sifted through files. The truth leapt off the records. No registered HOA, 0 rights to the lake, and my grandmother's 1963 survey confirmed private ownership of every inch of shoreline. I grinned, almost giddy. Marjorie's threats, her HOA claims, utter nonsense. But Marjorie wasn't backing down. She was just getting started. A sheriff's deputy knocked on my door days later. Marjorie had filed a complaint claiming I was harassing neighbors. I laughed and laid my documents on the table. Deputy, she's accusing me of trespassing on my own lake. His eyebrows shot up. 10 minutes later, he and I drove to Marjorie's house. She was watering her flowers, smug as ever, until he told her the lake was mine. The hose slipped from her hand. But she didn't stop. Flyers, secret meetings, lies whispered through the neighborhood. He's gonna fence off the lake. He'll charge you to swim. One evening at the grocery store, a little girl tugged my sleeve. "Mister, are you really gonna ban us from swimming?" My chest tightened. This wasn't just about money. This was psychological warfare. Then I uncovered her boldest move yet. A development plan filed with the county. Parking lots, rental cabins, a fake petition with forged signatures. She wasn't just stealing fees, she was plotting to take my land. And that's when I called in backup. Rebecca Stone, a sharp attorney, reviewed the documents and said, "Daniel, this isn't just fraud. This is federal fraud. Let her keep going. She's digging her own grave." And she did dig until the FBI themselves showed up. The final showdown came on the 4th of July. I used conservation trust funds my grandmother had left to host a massive community festival. Free food, boat rides, fishing lessons, kids laughing, families cheering. For the first time, I felt like my grandmother's spirit was alive in every corner of the lake. And then Marjorie stormed in. "This gathering is illegal," she shouted, waving her clipboard. I calmly handed her a folder with permits, deeds, conservation papers. Then, on a loudspeaker, I explained to the entire crowd how she had forged documents, stolen money, and tried to take land that wasn't hers. Gasps echoed, neighbors murmured, some shouted. Then came the sheriff, flanked by FBI agents. "Marjorie Lane, you're under arrest for fraud, forgery, and wire fraud." The click of the handcuffs was music to my ears. In the weeks after, refunds were issued, families apologized. Marjorie lost her home, her reputation, everything. I, the so-called outsider, became part of the community, organizing conservation projects, leading kids programs, and keeping Eleanor's spirit alive. And here's the lesson I took away. Greed can tear a community apart, but truth, persistence, and courage will always outlast lies. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying your enemy. It's building something better than they ever dreamed of. So if you've ever faced a nightmare HOA, remember, know your rights, stand tall, and don't let anyone rewrite your story. Because sometimes karma comes with handcuffs and a standing ovation from your neighbors.